It is now my honor to introduce to you our keynote speaker. Since reading an article in the 3rd grade about the greenhouse gas effect, Alexis Hingham has known that working on environmental issues was her calling. Alexis's career has focused on educating leaders and peers about the business value of integrating sustainability and environmental standards into everyday operations and decision-making in large government organizations and Fortune 500 companies. She began her career developing and implementing national environmental and sustainability programs as a consultant to large governmental agencies, ranging from the National Park Service to the Federal Emergency Management Agency. At Northrop Grumman Corporation, Alexis helped build a comprehensive corporate sustainability program and drove results that earned Northrop Grumman consistent recognition from investor-facing organizations for its leadership in corporate sustainability performance and disclosure. As a board member and work group leader for the International Aerospace Environmental Group, Alexis contributed to and led development of standardized environmental accounting practices for the global aerospace industry. Now, at Amazon, Alexis continues to drive influence at scale. As an engagement manager for worldwide sustainability, Alexis established and grew a network of over 2,000 employees to expand the team's reach by promoting awareness of sustainability and leading sustainability projects across Amazon's diverse businesses to drive results. In her current role as the Sustainability Business Development Manager at Amazon Web Services, or AWS, Alexis is building tools and mechanisms to communicate the sustainability and business value proposition of AWS's cloud computing technology and services for account managers and customers worldwide. She is someone who is having a big impact. Alexis is the proud mother of 2 boisterous daughters and happily married to fellow Blue Devil Dylan Fuge. She and her family live in Seattle, Washington, where they enjoy the boundless opportunities of nature on land and sea. She holds a Bachelor of Science in Biology from Mary Washington College and a Master of Environmental Management and a Master of Forestry from Duke University's Nicholas School of the Environment. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my privilege and honor to introduce you to Alexis Hingham.
Good morning. Come on, you guys. This is a celebratory day. Good morning.
Good morning.
Great. Well, thank you very much for having me, and thank you, Dean Steelman, and the faculty and staff of the Nicholas School for having me here. But graduates, this is all about you. You guys have done the hard work to get here today, and I can't tell you how honored I am to be here with you and to congratulate you for all that you've done. It's really, as Dean Steelman said, my husband also graduated from Duke. We met here at the Nicholas School. It's not a sappy love story. We just happen to both like economics and policy. So, but for a lot of personal reasons, but also because I really hold this school in incredibly high esteem, it's a pleasure for me to be back here. And I'll be honest, it's a little bit mind-boggling that it's been 14 years since I sat where you did, although we were in the courtyard without gowns. And excuse me, I'm sorry, I'm suffering from some allergies, so please excuse the coughing. You know, they say that you can never go back, but if I were given the chance, I would be back here in a heartbeat. I don't think I would be able to get in. You guys have raised the bar awfully high. Speaking of which, Tom, you also raised the microphone very high. And you guys are really setting an incredible standard for the students that are yet to come. And for those of us who've already graduated, you're holding us accountable, which is good. We need it. So my Nicholas School experience was transformative in a lot of ways. It was here that I really learned about the complexity of environmental issues, about the ability of economics to tease out the ecosystem and resource management values, how data-intensive forestry and forest management really is. Love Excel. Make sure you learn it if you don't already. Lots of tools very useful. But in full transparency, my trip down memory lane had me laughing quite a bit, except for when I thought about statistics. And as I was reminiscing with Dr. Albright this morning, it's not a highlight of my Nicholas School career. But there were many life lessons reinforced here: how to deconstruct complex problems, trust but verify the data, the importance of being prepared and on time, and of course, being able to see the forest for the trees, literally and figuratively. I'm incredibly grateful for all of the experiences that I had here, and I am really pleased to say that almost all of them, again, we're going to exclude statistics there, have had a profoundly positive influence on me. One thing that the Nicholas School did for me, and I do hope that it has for you as well, is to help me define my true north. Some call it purpose, other people consider it a calling or maybe a guiding light. But your ability to both define and then calibrate that true north is going to be incredibly important as you head out into the real world. It'll be one of the most valuable things that you take with you. And as we know, as Dean Steelman alluded to, and as hopefully you all know and you've read the reports, it's pretty ugly out there. Got some pretty serious issues that need to be tackled. But it's inspiring to be here with you today because I know all of you are going to help us win the fight. I'm not going to read you all of the statistics because I hope that you know them, but I'm sure that all of us are aware on Thursday the report came out to indicate that almost 1 million species are at risk of extinction, and some within the next decade. So there's big work to be done, and we need to get moving. Just real quickly, on Wednesday, I don't know if any of you read it, but the New York Times Climate Forward newsletter, which comes out every week, they had their headliner was "Biodiversity Loss is Urgent. Spreading the message is hard." That's true, but I really think it's fair to say that the challenge isn't so much a communications issue as it is a people issue. So, graduates of the class of 2019, I say this to you today. The science is clear. We need to win the hearts and minds. So how do we do that? Well, the good news is you've already done the first step. You've done one of the smartest things you can do. You came here to the Nicholas School where you've learned a lot. You've met each other. You've started to create a network, and you're really setting out on a pathway that's not just noble, but it's critical. So congratulations, you've done step one. But my mission is I chose to accept it. When I was talking with the staff about coming today, and I thought, what would be helpful for the graduates to hear, they said, just keep it real. I said, okay, I can do that. So rather than pontificate about all the amazing things that you could or should do or things you could think about, I'm just going to give you 3 pieces of advice. The first, and this is all to help you win those hearts and minds. The first is to earn trust. At the heart of what we're all setting out to do here, whether you're a data scientist, a marine scientist, a forester, future policymaker, energy finance specialist, an entrepreneur, photographer, environmental lawyer, the common denominator isn't the environment, it's people. The environmental field is cross-disciplinary, as you all well know, and the boundaries just continue to expand. As we gain more information and we learn more and more about it, we see the interconnectedness of all of the work that we're doing. But not everybody else sees that. So it's important that you, as the voice of reason, the experts, that you help to connect those dots for people. So many of you have completed your master's projects or your PhD theses by working with other people. In fact, I'm sure that you probably didn't do it in a vacuum. Anybody? Okay, good. So you've already learned some of those first critical steps. How do you work with other people? And that sounds like a lot of common sense, but you'd be amazed how not easy that is to do in the real world when you're not surrounded by people who think like you, who intuitively understand what you're talking about, who understand all of the jargon that you're going to use and that's embedded in your head. It's really important to be able to break down those barriers. And you can go at it. You could evangelize. You could proselytize. For those of you with a medical license, you could try to anesthetize. But my advice would be to listen and to relate, to meet them where they are and to find out what makes those people tick. You'll find that while we all probably would love for everyone just to come and jump on our side of the ship and we all are heading off to do this noble thing that everybody in the world should understand is the most critical thing, they might have a different opinion. They might have a different priority. So it's important for you, and I encourage you, as hard as it may be for some of you, I certainly am quite stubborn myself, but you need to meet them where they are. And so get to know them. Find out what makes people tick. Find out what motivates them. You'll be amazed what you learn. I'm going to tell you a really quick story. I recognize that I'm standing between you and your diplomas, so I will keep these brief. But in one of the positions when I was working in the corporate sector, one of the first things I was tasked to do, I think I was maybe a couple of months into the job, and I was eager and really excited, as I'm sure you guys are all feeling today. And I thought I could conquer, I was still in that mode where I thought I could conquer the world. I still do, and we will, but we'll get back to that. I should also mention that at this point, I think I was about 6 months pregnant, so, I was not an inconspicuous person at that time. And my boss said, we need to meet with this team. I'm not going to name the team because that'll give it away. But we need to meet with this team, and we need to get them to come on board with us. We're going to work on this collaborative, this initiative together. And I said, okay, great. So he said, set up the meeting. So I set up the meeting. I invited them. These are like senior executives at the company. And here I am new, excited. Of course, they want to talk to me. So we set up this meeting, and I show up. I'm in the meeting. I'm waiting for everybody. And the two senior-most people on their team showed up, which was great. That was an accomplishment. And my boss didn't show up. And I thought, okay, well, this is a little awkward, but we'll just go with it. So we met, and I introduced myself, and I explained my background and kind of what we were working on, and then I gave them kind of my pitch, what we wanted to work on. And they sat there, and I should mention there was zero expression during this entire conversation. And they said, thanks, but our team's not interested. And I said, okay, well, what is it that you think is there any element of that might interest your team? And they said, that's just not what we're hearing from them right now. And it was pretty clear to me that they weren't really interested in me trying to dissect the conversation further for potential opportunities. So I thanked them for their time, and they left, and then I left. And I went back to my desk, and I thought about it for a few minutes, and I was really feeling pretty deflated, pretty disheartened. And my boss came by, and I was like, hey, yeah, we had that meeting. Remember the one you were supposed to come to? And he said, oh, yeah, how did it go? And I said, well, it didn't go very well at all. They came to the meeting, and we had this discussion, and I kind of gave him the rundown. And he said, but that's okay, because they came to the meeting. And I was like, what do you mean? He said, well, they've never come to my meetings. So it's really great that they showed up to meet you. And I was like, well, I don't know about that. I mean, great, but they're not interested. And he said, no, this is just the first step. So let me encourage you, as you're starting to head down this journey, you'll get no's. It hurts. Get over it. Keep going. But back to the earning trust. So of those two members, the two team members that came, the senior-most person was this gentleman who literally, I'm not sure, can emote facially. And so we were, which is fine, but it makes it really hard to read him. And so about 4 months later, I happened to be at this conference. It was an internal conference, and it was about women in leadership. And he was on the stage. So I was a little confused. But he was being introduced by one of our corporate executives who was a woman, and she introduced him and mentioned that he had been married for 20 some odd years and that he and his wife had 4 kids. And it was in that moment that I knew. I think I mentioned I was 6 months pregnant. I had now had that second child. So I am a mom, and I'm very proud to be a mom, and it's a really critical element of who I am. And I realized in that moment that we had something in common. It didn't seem at first blush when I first met him that we had anything in common, but I had found my way. And so what I did after that was to continue. I would see him around the hallways, whereas previously I'd kind of held my head down a little bit. I was a little embarrassed, maybe mortified about the fact that they completely rejected my proposal. But I would say hi Just say hello, how are you? And this went on, and then I would ask him about his kids. And he would open up. He actually smiled. He would light up. And so I had found our common connection. So whatever that common connection is that you can find with people, and it may take you a few times, find it, make it relate. That way they'll remember who you are, and they'll remember, more importantly, that you're a human being, which is really important, not just that person who's coming to tell them that they need to care about the environment and they need to forsake all other things, which is not what I told them, by the way, but regardless, may have been what they heard. So in short, remember, the science is clear. We need to win the hearts and minds. So my second piece of advice for you is to get comfortable being uncomfortable. As you might have teased out in that story, I was not in the majority thinking there. I was definitely pushing a boulder up the hill. I still feel like where I am right now, I'm pushing a boulder up the hill, but it's a boulder that I'm happy to keep pushing. But what I mean by this is, you guys are about to leave the comfort of the Nicholas School. This is an amazing place. Your peers, your faculty and staff who've supported you for these last 2, 3, 10 years, have been here to support you, to challenge you, to make you a better person. You're about to go out into the world where maybe not everybody has that exact or explicit interest. So you're going to have to be comfortable being uncomfortable. You might be the only person in the room. You might be the only person in the building. You might be the only person in the company or the organization who cares. Or so it may seem. But you need to fight the good fight, because we need to win the hearts and minds. So take all of this knowledge, all of these skills that you've acquired over these last many years, put them to good use as you already have. Your master's projects titles are amazing. I actually would like to sit down and read all of them. And the PhD dissertations are incredible. You guys are poised to do incredible things. So you might be the only one. I was the token hippie at Northrop Grumman. It was a mantle I was perfectly happy to carry. And you might be that token hippie, and that's okay. It's not a shameful thing. They might think it's entertaining, but you're going to show them that it's really valuable, the value that you're going to bring to that organization, whatever that may be. So stick with it. Excuse me. One quote that always comes to mind when I think about the work that we're doing and how difficult it can be is Al Gore in his climate reality presentations always says, after the last no comes yes. So keep that in mind, because you're going to get no's, and it's going to be painful, and you'll have to kind of pull yourself up by your bootstraps, but that yes will come. And so my point of, I want to just circle back on that story. So I pitched them that proposal, and again, I think it was pretty clear that they weren't interested. But what I didn't just leave it at that. So I continued to do my research. What I realized was I didn't know them. I didn't know their context. I didn't know enough about their team and their priorities. So I spent as much time as I could researching that particular area. And I learned a lot, and it was very insightful for me. And I also realized that they weren't wrong. It wasn't necessarily a priority in that particular space. But it was important for me to understand that. I also did a couple of other things. Periodically, as we had success with our corporate sustainability initiatives, I would send them, maybe it was a press release or just a quick article about that, just to say, hey, just thought you might want to know about this. But I also would send them articles, not a lot. Again, I do not encourage you, let me be crystal clear, do not bombard people with email. It is not nice. And they will stop reading anything that you send to them. But occasionally, I would send them articles where there was an interesting point about the nexus between environmental work or sustainability work and their work. That way it wasn't me telling them, it was the voice of reason, and I always made sure that it was coming from a source that I knew they would know. It was coming from their field of expertise, not mine. And so I would just, kind of plant the seeds. I'm sure you guys have all done that before. And lo and behold, 2.5 years later, I got an email. Alexis, I really need to learn more about this sustainability thing. Literally, that's what the email said. Sustainability thing. Can we meet? I said, absolutely. You set up the day, you tell me when and where, I'll be there. So 2.5 years later, after that really ego-crushing meeting, we met. And we had a great conversation. And they didn't know a lot, which was fine. It was my opportunity, my obligation to educate them, but also to make sure I did so in a way that was enabling dialogue. That would be two-way communication for those of you, and I don't think there are really any of you, because that's not what this master's program or this PhD program is all about. It really is about facilitating communication. So you guys are very well equipped to do this as well. So it wasn't just that we had a great meeting. We went on to, we laid out a plan. We had a joint collaboration that they paid for. That's a major coup in corporate America, to get some other business function to pay for your work. And we set out on this joint initiative, but it wasn't even just that. And we did great work, and we had great results that made the headlines, and that was great. We actually, what was winning for me in that was that she became the champion, not me. She internalized the importance of this, and she, as a recognized person from that team or that field, became the voice of the importance of sustainability. And that is what I took away from that. She had the willingness, the interest. We made it happen. So be a catalyst, because remember, the science is clear. We need to win the hearts and minds. The last thing I'll say, and my third piece of advice for you, is to invest in your network. You already have a great network here. These peers who are sitting next to you are your first circle. But there are so many more people out there. I actually didn't know that we had 5,000 alumni, so that's a great stat to have. I feel like we have more, but maybe it's just because we're having such an impact. But I'm thrilled to welcome you to this network, because it really is a network. It's one where we all work together. There are an amazing number of people in this alumni network that you're about to join who are incredibly accomplished. We have CEOs, we have entrepreneurs, we have people who are former undersecretaries of the Department of Agriculture. We have the chief environmental officer at a Fortune 100 company. We have leading conservationists, land and ocean conservancy managers writ large. So there is an amazingly accomplished group of people that you all are about to join. And here's the best part. You're one of them. You're joining the club. And we're really excited to have you. And you guys have already done great work, but there's so much more to come. So I really encourage you to invest in your network. Again, this doesn't have to necessarily be in dollars, although that's always a good way to start. But you could be a mentor. You can be an advisor. You could be an employer. You could host an intern. You could gin up a project that you need a Nicholas School student to do, because you know just how capable the Nicholas School students are. I myself have had the pleasure of hiring, managing, working alongside, and also working for Nicholas School alums. And they definitely stand out in my mind as some of the best people that I've had the pleasure to work with. It's been few and far between, frankly, too far and few between. So you also we need to get the word out. We need more graduates. We need more people out here changing the world for good. But the Nicholas School, as I said, really holds a special place in my heart for personal and for professional reasons. I would do almost anything for this school. And I hope that you will too. So whether you exert your influence on the masses, whether you do it from the top, bottoms up, through the middle, you go be a change agent from the inside, keep that focus on your true north, because you'll have moments where you really need it. And it's not typically those moments where you're really killing it. It's typically those moments where you're not. And you'll really need that compass to come back to. I come back to it a lot, because believe me, it's not roses out here all the time. But it is great, and there are wins to be had, and those wins feel pretty amazing when you get there, so strive for those. But what also really inspires me to stay involved in this network is the amazing students that just keep coming from the Nicholas School, and you guys are absolutely no exception. If anything, like I said, you're really raising the bar. In fact, I'm not really sure how we're going to find people who can kind of keep up, but so keep doing that. Raise the bar. Go out into your various places of work and raise the bar. Hold people to high standards, but remember to meet them where they are. So, in closing, It is my honor, as a member of the Alumni Network, to welcome you, class of 2019, to the Nicholas School Alumni Network, and congratulations, you've done amazing things.
Produced by Duke University,